My name is Wilt. I'm a town council member in the town of Brighton. I am protecting my circle by being vaccinated. And I was fortunate enough that, my healthcare provider contacted me immediately and said, I use my chart, I use an online charting system. And so as soon as I became eligible, I received a little note in my chart saying, you're eligible for the vaccine. And so I immediately signed up and I got the vaccine. And then I got my second dose, and as soon as my kids became eligible, it was the same thing. I took them to get their dose. In one case, um, the only the Moderna was available where they sent us, and this was my child was under 16 at the time and wasn't eligible for Moderna. He needed Pfizer, and I actually drove to Syracuse in order to get my child vaccinated. It was that important to me. I understand vaccine hesitancy from a very fundamental sense, right? We have not, as a community, always been able to rely on our government to do what's best for us. And so that is what has put us at greater risk, unfortunately. And that's why we need greater vigilance in our community, because of the lack of healthcare within our communities, because of not only the lack of access, but also the treatment once we do receive healthcare, we have health concerns that put our communities at greater risk. And so when it comes to COVID, we are already a higher risk population. And as such, we need to take advantage of all of the therapies and the practices that are out there that keep us safe. And that's why I think vaccines are so important in our community, and I wish that we had better uptake. I know that on a personal level, I have people in my family that have resisted the vaccine. Again, a lot because of the historical injustices that we face and the lack of trust that exists between our communities and government entities. But what we need to understand is that COVID is very much still present in our communities. And even though it might not be front page news every day, our numbers right now are some of the highest in the country. We are not just a hotbed of COVID regionally. We are a hotbed nationally and internationally. We are one of the COVID hotspots of the world. And so we as a community need to make sure that we are doing everything we can as individuals to contain the spread. Because our vaccination rates are not the highest either. I just read an article about the U.S. being the country that has been most impacted by COVID, both economically and obviously the human costs, the trauma, the mental health, and the stigma surrounding it. So I think that because of our unique position within the world in terms of the highest rates of transmissibility of COVID and infection rates, we need to make sure that this is top of mind for us. Because all of the other communities that were able to reduce their rates, they did it through hypervigilance. So that's what we need to be working on in this community. Getting vaccinated, making sure that we're taking our tests. If we have a family gathering that we know is going to be a potential spreader event, we have to make sure that we are going in without the virus. So, I know that test kits are widely available. We have thousands within our community in Brighton, but we are handing them out to anybody who wants them. So at the county level, we have tasks, and in our at the municipal level, we have tasks. So, just take that extra step before you go out. Make sure you test yourself. Make sure you're being safe. Even though there are no mask mandates, you can often see me with a mask. Anytime there's a large gathering, we're at risk for transmissibility. So I make sure that I have my mask with me. In particularly, if there are a lot of people that I don't know there, obviously my inner circle, I know them to be vaccinated, but with a lot of these new strains, they're just so transmissible, and we need to make sure that we're taking all the precautions that we can. In particular, this virus has been with us for going on 3 years now, and it has altered almost every aspect of how we interact with one another. So all of our patterns, that we're accustomed to have been disrupted. And I know when I'm at gatherings with people, they're just so anxious to have the contact, and because we're social beings, and these past 3 years have taken a toll on us. Even when we have events on a community level, we just had a recycling event in our community. I could see the enthusiasm just to be in communion with one another again. So as we enter these spaces, we have to make sure that we're still vigilant, that we're taking care, because I know that we have to reconnect again in order to maintain our own mental health and the mental health of our communities. But at the same time, if we can do that safely, we're going to end up ahead in the long run.